In this video, I'm going to go over what I do as far as electrode placement using electric stim on a patient that comes in after a rotator cuff repair. When a patient comes in, I'm going to make sure that they're safe to have electric stim. There's no contraindications. I'm going to go through all of those. I always go over all my post-surgical precautions and home management as far as wound and making sure the bandages and everything are clean and dry and you're following your physician's protocol with that. Then we're also going to go over things as far as sleep schedule with your brace and all those types of things. In most cases, you're going to sleep with that brace or sling on. You're going to have that sling with that big abductor pad for quite some time. And then we're going to go into what are things that you can do. A lot of times we all know we can do passive range of motion. Of course, you got to stay within those protocols. We're going to do passive range of motion and of course this patient education. In a lot of cases are things you can do with the hand, the wrist, kind of get some of that moving. But if you have electric stim, I like to use electric stim to kind of start things to get things going, not only to reactivate the muscles and also for the patient's perspective, it makes them really feel like they're really getting something. Because in a lot of cases, you have to be very easy. There may not be a lot of things you can do right off the bat. So with this is going to give the patient, number one, an idea that we're going towards making this progression. And number two, we are in fact enhancing muscle contraction and trying to relearn or kind of reteach that motor relearning to those muscles. I have several pad placements that I like to use. This is a right shoulder, and if you'll notice on here, I have in red 1 and 2. So 1 and 2 is going to represent one channel. So I'm using Russian electric stim or biphasic, some sort of NMES system. That's going to represent one channel. Now I may only put one channel on the right shoulder, the surgical shoulder. I'm going to put the same placement on the opposite shoulder, even though that's not the surgical side, just to kind of let the patient feel, how that should feel. The muscles kind of contract, similar to when we have a patient, maybe they've had a CVA or something like that. And we always exercise that unaffected side as well because there's research for carryover and cross training. So I would do that, put that over the infraspinatus and teres minor here. Then another placement you can do is, if you'll notice 3, which is here in the supraspinous fossa, and then 4 out here on the outside of the shoulder. That's going to be on the outside of the deltoid, and 3 is going to be over the upper trap area, kind of trying to get over that muscle belly of the supraspinatus as much as we can. Of course, you don't want to put these electrodes over the incision sites, over those arthroscopic portal holes that they were using for surgery. You don't want to put it over that. And what you're going to do with this is I like to set up reciprocating. So if I'm using it on the right shoulder only, or the surgical shoulder only, I'm going to have one channel here and I have one channel here. So 3 and 4 is a channel and 1 and 2 is a channel. And what's going to happen is I'm going to have it to reciprocate. So one channel kicks on, it relaxes, the other channel kicks on, that relaxes, and it goes back and forth. And I may have that run for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, just really depends on how the patient's feeling, how much pain they're in, and other things that I want to accomplish. And I will let that run in that fashion. If I'm using, say, channel 1 and 2 here, and I'm not putting these other electrodes on top here, and I'm putting on the other left shoulder over that same infraspinatus and teres minor, then I'm going to use co-contract for that. So I'm going to have it where when one side kicks on, the other side kicks on, so it's simultaneous. And the same thing, if I were only going to use 3 and 4 and not put pads below the spine, the scapula here, then I would do the same thing. It would be co-contract, so both sides would be kicking on simultaneously. Eventually you can work on some active movement with that. You can have the patient perform active exercises with that while they're going through the different movements. A lot of times I'll also even put the electrodes on the rhomboid, so right between that shoulder blade or scapula and the spine. You'll put it right there, have the patient kind of squeeze the shoulder blades together. In most cases, that's safe to do. And I really use this for all types of rotator cuff repair. Again, I don't want it so strong that it's causing the shoulders to jump all around. A little small twitch is fine, or if the patient just says when you turn up to a point, they say, well, okay, I feel it's getting pretty strong, or that's uncomfortable, then I'll back off from there. Another option with this is that I will also use this for interferential current or pre-modulated e-stim, or if you have a TENS unit, you can do that. And the placement on that, honestly, I just kind of try to cover the entire area. Everything from the anterior, the front part of the shoulder, the top, the back, the whole area that may be hurting. Does really well to let that run just to kind of calm down some of the pain the patient may be having. And then I'll also start to incorporate that with passive range of motion. So I've even had patients initially come in, I put the stim on in an interferential or pre-modulated fashion to try to, for some pain control, put that on, let it run for maybe 20 minutes, and then come in, let the machine continue to run. I may turn it down a little bit even, and then go through my range of motion. So that's whether that's shoulder flexion or abduction or whatever that range of motion is that your protocol allows. I'll go through that while the machine is running, just to kind of give the patient some of that analgesic effect. It just feels a little better when you're going through that range of motion. So I will do that as well. And I may do that for several weeks, maybe even 4 to 6 weeks through the program, whatever I need to do to control the pain and make the patient less apprehensive so they can go through the rest of the program. So that's just a few tips as far as using electric stim on the shoulder after a rotator cuff repair. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this video helps.